Welcome to Rise to the Top, a college football betting podcast with your host and number one college football handicapper, Freddy Wills.
Hey guys, Freddy Wills here from FreddyWills.com. Another podcast for this week, breaking down last week's college football and some value plays for this week and what it means from a betting perspective. We'll go over a bunch of games here. Also recap my week, which was, compared to last week, it was pretty dreadful. We were able to at least salvage a little bit, some profit back with betting on the Titans last night, a rare Tuesday night football game, which was nice because it was my birthday. Otherwise, I would have had this podcast out sooner. But overall, 5-9, minus 9.6% for myself and my clients. Still up on the season, which is a good thing. I always tell you guys when I win or lose, it's a number one priority for me is to be transparent. That's why I release all my plays 1 minute after kickoff, and sometimes the plays are before kickoff when, most of these kickoffs are late anyways. So make sure you check that out, FreddyWills.com, or on my Twitter account. You can track it there as well. So minus 9 turnover margin in all the games that I bet this week. So again, for whatever reason, I can't get away from that. I'm just waiting for 1 week where I'm positive in turnover margin. That would be fantastic. But listen, you can't make excuses, even though I just did. I hate when people say that they can't make excuses after they make an excuse. So I apologize for that. But 3-5 in college, minus 2.7%, which is where we're going to focus our efforts on this podcast. So let's just get into some of the games. And listen, we started the week on Thursday nighter. Houston minus 6.5 over Tulane was a winner. Despite their best effort, Houston had 5 turnovers. They were still able to cover the spread with ease by 11.5 points in margin. Houston was plus 265 yards in the game. They started the game by giving up 2 defensive touchdowns. I think that creates some value this week on Houston. Against 4-0 against the spread team in BYU, a team getting 66% of the action this week. Houston plus 4.5 on my lean list. They're home for this game as well. BYU, in my opinion, inflated in the market. They really haven't played anybody. They've won and covered in dominating fashion, but I think that only leads to an inflated line. Huge game this week for Houston. My only worry would be that Houston had 5 turnovers, and can they clean it up in a short period of time? I also think they have a lot more film on BYU and what BYU wants to do rather than what BYU has on Houston. So, and I don't think Sataki's that great of a coach at BYU compared to the previous one they had in Bronco Mendenhall. So I don't, them covering as a favorite, I'm not so sure. I know everyone thinks Zach Wilson is going to be, the number 2 quarterback taken after Trevor Lawrence. Although I think Justin Fields will have something to say about that. But strong lean towards Houston this week. Friday night, we had Louisville, but again, 3 turnovers. A big reason why Louisville lost that game, and we did not cover the spread. Louisville was actually dominant nearly 37 minutes in time of possession. They were plus 31 yards. I believe we have value on Louisville this week as a 17.5 point dog. Louisville now 1-3 against the spread, facing a Notre Dame team that's 3-0 against the spread. So Georgia Tech gets a tough task. That's the team that Louisville played last week, facing Clemson the week after they beat Miami, and I think Clemson's just going to start to roll here. Georgia Tech, a 27-point dog. I see, they played a clean game with turnovers, and I mentioned on my podcast last week that Georgia Tech's going to pull some upsets when they can play a clean game. They hadn't done it thus far until last game where they were plus 3 in turnover margin against Louisville, so that was the reason why they beat Louisville. Listen, I don't think they're going to play a clean game against Clemson. I think their defense is going to have their hands full. I think Clemson's going to roll again. I haven't released it as a possible play yet. Want to dig into it a little bit more. But speaking of Clemson was my premium pick newsletter play. So if you're not subscribed to that, it's 3-1 and 1 so far in the season. So lots of profits over there. Just head on over to FreddyWills.com and you can subscribe right at the top of the screen. It's 1 email, 1 per week. You're getting 1 premium play. that most clients pay for. So make sure you head on over to freddywills.com to subscribe to that. So this past week it was Clemson -14, which was my highest rated play of the week. Probably the best call. Clemson's defense held Miami to just 200 yards of offense in this game. I mentioned in my analysis that Derek King, he had made 20 career college football starts, which really isn't that many. And in those 20 starts, he's only seen 3 top 50 defenses. And, of course, Clemson shut him down, as I expect they would. I mean, he had like 83 yards rushing, but, one was on one big play. This game really wasn't even close as the final indicated, and I'll get to that in a second. But, just 3 top 50 defenses that he had faced. And of those 3, none of them were Power 5 defenses. So I think the best defense he had faced was Fresno State a couple years ago, and they held him in check. So that was part of my handicap. This game, obviously Clemson, it was an easy cover, but it wouldn't be betting if we didn't have some drama at some point in the game to make us feel a little unlucky. We're up 21-3. Clemson's going to kick a long field goal before the half. I really don't understand why. Miami had a returner back there to take it back, but it gets blocked, and Miami returns it 48 yards for a touchdown to make it 21-10 at the half. But luckily Clemson is a well-coached team. They were able to respond to that adversity. I think in a way it was a positive. Dabo took the blame for the decision to go for the long field goal, and his team came out in the second half and dominated. So the big question here is, how does Miami rebound? Because although Miami is back, and I don't know if the players actually believed it or not, if they believed they were going to beat Clemson, I believe that they probably thought they had a chance. But there was some noise in their stats and a lot of red flags on their way to that 3-0 start. I don't know that Miami rebounds. I don't like their coaches, and even in my handicap, Rick Lashley, and I know a lot of people are saying he's a really good offensive coordinator. There's a reason this guy was the offensive coordinator just a few years ago at fucking UConn, Connecticut, the state I live in. I know a thing or two about him. I get that he came from Gus Malzahn's tree. He was over at Auburn, and that's, that makes everyone get hard or whatever. But listen, I'm pretty sure Gus Malzahn was calling those plays back then when they had 2 top 10 offenses. Rick Lashley really hasn't put out solid offenses until last year at SMU, where they ranked 31st. So I'm gonna continue to fade Miami. Look, hey, Derek King gets to go against another top 50 defense in the Power 5, probably a top 20, borderline top 10 defense in Pitt this week. Pitt really controlled Cunningham, a mobile quarterback, in their last game. So Derek King comes in here. We'll see. They open up as an 11-point favorite, now down to 10 at some spots. And, I lean towards Pitt. Pitt does have a potential look-ahead spot to Notre Dame, but I think they'll be focused on Miami here. So back to some of the other games they gave out. So that was one of the positives from the weekend for college football. Here's a negative. Saturday's free pick on Syracuse +1. I did a free pick podcast on Friday, and I'll be doing it again this week. So make sure you guys subscribe. I gave out Syracuse +1 as a loser. We're now 74-55 over our last 129 free sports picks. Syracuse's defense did not show up. They gave up 645 yards in this game. And despite being +3 in turnover margin, a game where, I handicapped, I said on my podcast that, I thought there was a really good shot that Syracuse would win the turnover battle. And if you win the turnover battle, you cover a lot of spreads. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for us here. And now Duke's getting some credit here. They're only a 4.5-point dog against NC State on the road. NC State already having some big upsets this year. They look like they've really turned that program around. And they beat Virginia this past week as a double-digit dog, 38-21. I had that game on for a little bit. I believe their starting quarterback got injured early for Virginia, so no lean in that game. I'll definitely be looking at it, though. Moving on, another early game on Saturday that I felt really good going into it because we gave out Virginia Tech +4.5 earlier in the week. And again, that's what it pays to subscribe to some of my packages. And right now I have a $59. You get college and pro football this week. You're going to get over 10 picks. We had 14 picks last week. $59 guaranteed profit or your money back. So make sure you check that out. The reason I say get it now is because, I'll release plays, and if you go and buy them a couple days later, the line has changed. So Virginia Tech plus 4.5. We beat the closing market by 1.5 points as this closed at 3. But Virginia Tech's defense did not show up. They go down 21-0 in this game, and part of my handicap was Herndon Hooker at quarterback for Tech. He didn't start and didn't come into the game until they were down 3 scores. The score the rest of the way, 45-35 Virginia Tech. Tech still getting credit this week as an 11-point favorite against BC. I don't know. I don't know about that one. While North Carolina opened up as an 8-point favorite, now 13.5 at Florida State. I think that's pretty spot on. I think a lot of people are going to bet North Carolina. I just don't have the heart to bet Florida State, so I'm passing. So the Red River rivalry, or as I heard, I got a kick out of this. I heard some fans calling it the Red River recession for Texas and Oklahoma, because obviously both programs. Listen, they're not in the national title picture. I know Oklahoma's made the college football playoff the last few years, but no one's really taken these two teams seriously. This is a great game. I enjoy watching it because I feel like it's old school college football. I feel like there's a lot of tradition, and I feel like we've lost some of the tradition over the years. It's only going to get worse and worse as some of these college athletes start to get paid. That's another debate for another day. Maybe I should do a podcast on that. But anyways, another game where I thought I had great value in the number, Texas plus 3. It was a late addition to the card. I was looking all week to add Texas to a teaser leg at plus 8.5, which would have cashed over this bet. But when it hit plus 3, I decided to take it. This game went to 3 overtimes. Honestly, it looked like Texas just ran out of plays in overtime because they just started running with Ellinger on every play. They missed a field goal, and then Oklahoma missed a chip shot, which would have given us a push in this game. At that point, I knew we probably weren't covering. Not to be negative, but that's happened to me too many times. But maybe I thought about it. Maybe I'm only remembering because would I remember a win in that case, or would I be more likely to remember a loss, something negative in that case? Probably that's probably the case. But so anyways, obviously Oklahoma went on to win that game by 8. Both teams have byes this week, and I'm not sure what to do with either of these teams after this past week. So I'll leave that for next podcast. A winning play on the day for me was Georgia minus 12. Listen, Georgia really dominated the game, and I felt my handicap was spot on. Listen, again, the drama right off the bat. It's like the gambling gods don't want some weeks. Some weeks it's the other way around, but it's like they didn't want me to have a relaxing Saturday. So right away, Bennett fumbled to start the game. It was recovered in the end zone by Tennessee for a touchdown. But in the second half, it was all Georgia outscoring Tennessee 27-0. This is really how I visioned this game. For them creating havoc, forcing turnovers on Guarantano. So that game was exactly how I saw it. Now they go on the road to face Alabama, 6.5-point dog. It opened up at 6. I'm high on this Georgia team, even with the quarterback that no one really knows about. I would wait for the 7.5. I do lean Georgia in that game, but may not play it. And listen, Tennessee gets Kentucky. They're 6-point favorites. I'll probably pass. I've been really unlucky on every Kentucky game this year, as you guys know. If you do track my releases, or if you're a client listening to this podcast, I added Mississippi State late on the money line, plus 130. Once the weather cleared up, weather was not impacting this game, so Mississippi State was going to be able to throw the ball. I thought we had some good value based on Kentucky's struggles to defend the pass, as well as Mississippi State's strength on defense to defend the run. In a way, we were spot on with the Mississippi State play because they held Kentucky to 84 yards rushing and 157 total yards. Now you tell me you hold a team to 157 total fucking yards and you're not going to win that game. Well, they didn't because they turned the ball over. They had 6 interceptions, many that came when they were driving in the red zone. So now 0-3 in Kentucky games, and honestly, I try not to be biased. Obviously, I'm going to have a natural bias because I bet on the games, but all Kentucky, the first 2 games I bet Kentucky, this game I faded Kentucky. I thought all 3 were completely misleading. I thought if you throw out the score and you look at the box score or even watch the game, I should be 3-0. I'm just being honest. Very unlucky in the Kentucky games. I don't know if I have the heart to bet them a Kentucky game for a while. I said that last week. I said I wouldn't back Kentucky, and I didn't this past week. I backed Mississippi State. I thought there was value in the line. I thought I was spot on. And watching the game, it confirmed that I thought that I was spot on. I didn't think Mississippi State played well by any means, but you on offense, but you hold the team to 157 yards and you don't win that game. I think not over 90% of the time you're going to win that game. I don't know what else to make of it, but listen, Mississippi State now faces Texas A&M, who's off a shocker over Florida this week. I would think A&M found some confidence beating a big time team, a top 4 team, and I think they build off of that. Not sure at this moment of the time of the week if I'm gonna play A&M in this game. I might tease it down because it's at 7.5. Listen, Mississippi State. I got to look at Jimbo if he's seen the air raid offense and that sort of thing, and what type of defense A&M faces, because it's not looking good for Mississippi State right now. Some other key games that I didn't bet on that we can talk about here. LSU in Missouri. That game went back and forth with a goal line stand by Missouri at the end of the game. If you want to call it that, I think the LSU receiver dropped the ball. This game was moved to Missouri after the hurricane, which saw the line move from 20.5 to 14.5. I actually leaned Missouri, but the game, I couldn't find a lot of information out about it, so I just didn't play it. Missouri plus 170 yards in this one. They were able to cover the spread and win outright despite -3 turnovers in the game. I think we're going to maybe have some value on Missouri moving forward because of that. LSU heads to Florida as in an 11.5 point dog, while Missouri's game was postponed against Vanderbilt. So we'll have to wait on Missouri. Hopefully some people forget how they looked against LSU. But, Florida this week should be able to put up a ton of points on LSU this week. I don't think Florida's defense will be fixed, unfortunately. And there's already reports out there that Florida had 5 players tested positive for COVID. So I'm actually wondering if that game even happens. To be honest, it might have already been postponed. So as of right now, it hasn't been postponed. But so that's interesting. I don't think I can back Florida here, even though I think they can put up a ton of points again, just because I don't trust their defense. Where is their mindset after that loss to A&M? And this is another SEC West game, so it's not important in the standings. They have more important games coming up. They can't afford to lose another one. But I feel like their chances of an undefeated season, those dreams have been crushed. I think if they run the table, obviously they'll be in the college football playoff, but I just don't know where their minds are to cover a double-digit spread. So I don't believe, never say never, but I don't believe I'll be having a ticket on Florida this week. Another key game here, Arkansas hung with Auburn, losing by 2. I know there was controversy at the end of the game. Bo Nix spiked the ball after it hit the ground, and Arkansas argued it should have been a fumble. I don't really know the rule. I wasn't watching it. I saw it without sound, so and not having money, I didn't really go back to find out what happened. But Auburn kicked the game winner after that. And, Auburn, I feel like they're being downgraded by a lot of people now. Just a 3-point favorite on the road against South Carolina, which means, again, a significant downgrade. Arkansas will get Ole Miss as a 3-point home dog. Arkansas seems legit. Listen, they've been right there in games. Pulled upset over Mississippi State, which doesn't look as good, but they look like they're going to be competitive. Ole Miss just came off a game against Alabama where, they had to give a ton of effort to pull the upset. Obviously, Lane Kiffin playing his old coach and anytime you go up against Alabama, I think they put it all hands on deck to get that game, and now they got to go on the road again to play Arkansas, a team that I think playing with a chip on their shoulder right now. I don't know if I'll play that game because Ole Miss is a dangerous offense, but right now I do lean Arkansas in that game as a home dog. So that wraps up the games. I really can't wait for the Big Ten to start next week, so that's going to be in some more games. We're going to be having games go into, much later than previously. So I'm very excited about this season. So it's not too late to pick up my packages, and honestly, they're discounted quite a bit. You can get the rest of college football season $2.99. I've had 8 of 11 profitable seasons. You can pick it up with NFL when you combine the two over the last 11 years. I've averaged 27% return on investment. What does that mean? So if you're a $1,000 player, or let's just say your bankroll's $10,000. So over the last 11 years, you would have averaged a return on investment of $2,700. So at the end of the year, on average, yearly average, your player's account would have $12,700 in it. So a profit of $2,700. That's on average. There's been some years where we killed it. There's been 3 seasons we've had a losing season. So I think it's worth the investment of $3.99 again, and it's guaranteed profit, or next season is free. That's for NFL and college. You get all my max play of the days. My max NFL play of the days have been just 3-0 this year, 61-32 over my last 93, well over 60%, and that dates back to 2015 for a sample size. So again, make sure you check it out. Already having a great NFL season. And if you just want this week's picks, all my premium plays, $59, guaranteed profit or your money back. And again, I play all these, and obviously all my plays released in my pick forum, my pick record table, and on Twitter. So make sure you check it out at freddywills.com. Thanks again for listening to this podcast. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. I appreciate it.
Subscribe to Freddy's premium sports picks newsletter. Free at freddywills.com.